What's going on? How we doing? Let me check, make sure we're good to go. Yep, looks good. Yo, Arnos, what's going on? Gonna let a few people filter in here. Busy morning for me. I'll run through my nightly process in terms of scan. I won't bore you with my chat log review. I typically read through the Investors Underground chat logs, but I won't do that live because that would just be boring. But yeah, I'll run through my FinViz scans, do some chart review, talk about my main watches, answer any questions if anyone filters in, and then that'll be the schedule kind of plan for this evening. Just gonna let a few people get in here. How'd everybody trade today? Wild in this China market. China, it's fantastic, it's beautiful, it's wonderful, it's huge wall. I love China. So, let me start off with some trades from today. We'll start off here with UXIN. Big picture daily chart. It always stems from there for me. It goes from 2 to 8 over 3 days. And then I get a gap down. So I'm looking for overextended gap down setup. I put some on. Let me just go through the 1 minute. Nice Trump impression. I'm allowed to do it because I'm Canadian, so it's not political. So I had put some on here right off the open. Wide risk was using yesterday's consolidation here towards 7 as a guide on that initial entry. And then it pushed and stuffed, but volume didn't really come in. So I was worried that this was just a low volume, and sometimes you get those delayed market opens where volume doesn't come in for a couple minutes, and I didn't want to get caught in that auction. So I completely covered, and then I put my position right back on. The bids dropped off, ask got heavy, and I stuck to my initial plan. I was like, I don't really need to cover. I'm okay with the loss. The setup is still there. So I shorted, and then once we got this hard crack, lower high, a lot can happen in a minute. So this lower high was bouncing around there for 30, 40 seconds. So I scaled and then moved risk to high a day. I covered on this potential double bottom. And once it immediately failed, I rescaled around the core, covered, shorted the pops, moving risk down here to the 580s, 590s, covered again on a potential double bottom. Once you get another lower high, I move risk down to here, start to scale a bit more, and I moved on as it was chopping around near low a day. My goal was 480s. That was right where the daily 4 EMA was sitting. So that was my goal, but I missed that little 30-cent flush. So it is what it is. But nice trade there, in and out around the core. Main win, UXN actually was my biggest winner. Tour, I traded the best. Same setup, multi-day run going from 80 cents to 170 there off the open. I was looking at the sector as a whole. Going into today, I felt that UXIN was the sector leader, but after today, it seems more like Duo is the sector leader. So once UXIN was red, I was more interested in leaning these names. So I put on super small, super small, enough that this thing could go. Not even a stop. Like it could go. I put some more on. This was using like basically $2 as a guide. I started scaling in fairly small towards pre-market levels, and then we get this shove into pre-market highs, pre-market resistance looking left. And once you get that rejection, I short lower highs, using this level 175 over under as a guide, but I wasn't going to be emotionally attached if it broke through 175 as long as it immediately sat back. But if it wanted to chop around there, I was going to give it some time. And then you get this VWAP fail. I'm looking at this 160s as a failed follow through level. So this retest of this 160s line, confirmed fail follow through. And then right here, I move my risk down now. So this was now hard stop on highs. Scaled here, hard stop on this lower high VWAP area. You get this flush. I expected this to roll over a bit better, and you get this little higher low. So I sized out about 80-90% of that position, and it didn't reclaim. So I scaled up a bit bigger than I had and was using hard stop here on 164, 165 range. Covered the flush, rescaled around the core, and then 130s was the goal. I didn't have ducks out, but I reacted to that flush, and that was that trade for me. So nice, clean trade. Duo, I avoided disaster on this one. Hit it through low a day and green to red. I was using stop of high a day, so I was risking about 50 cents. And got this flush, and it was straight down. Anytime it's straight down, I typically like to cover. So this was only like a 1-to-1 trade. Make 50 cents, risking 50 cents. But I feel that the odds of once that thing went red after 3-4 days of holding green, I felt like the odds favored that pullback regardless. So decent little single, but nothing to really write home about. I think the real win on this is avoiding all of this. And then LX, I had put some on here on the hard crack using lower high. Put some on right there versus these pre-market resistance levels, and then stopped out. Was about a half size loss on that one because it never confirmed. But this daily is just getting better and better. The volume continues to speed up. I like this outlier range today in addition to this after hours blowout action. So volume matching range and hasn't gone red in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days. So if I can get a gap up blowout, and I like this thing for a first red day. This will definitely be my main watch going into tomorrow. What else? Givo, worth mentioning. Nice rejection off the 180s looking left. And now a predictive long would be buying weak opens now versus this 135 risk, because that should hold trend as higher lows. I'd more prefer for this to set its higher low and buy that break of 180s. Just a bit more confirmation for me. Then I think this favors you getting stopped out, but if it works, you have nice risk reward of, you're up already like a 2-to-1 once I'm getting my entry. And then you have room to scale and move risk up. So your winner, if it worked, would be a lot more outsized, but I think the odds favor a failed follow through. So I'll be looking at dips versus 135, and I like the long through the 180s, but I think this daily chart is still building nicely as long as 150s continues to build was the plan from the Sunday scan. This one's kind of interesting, a bit out of my typical wheelhouse. Big picture wise, let me go to, I believe, just want to see what the news was related with on this day. Intensifying credit changes. Shares plunge on credit changes on the CFO's comments. So possibly a material change to the company's structure, like behind the scenes, financials, I should say. So you get this fundamental change, and you get this little higher low sort of bear flag, the flat top through the 35 half, and these higher lows. So if this can take out today's range of this 34 half, then I think this favors lower. Possible swing trade to it. It's a lot slower mover, but I do think that there is opportunity on this to the short side, as long as today's range acts as resistance, and look for that 34 breakdown coming soon. So I think there's possibility there. So yeah, as far as the names that were already on my radar, Duo, I don't really have an interest in this moving forward until I get maybe like a 230 breakdown in a couple days, or if this thing were to go higher. I believe they did put out an offering today. Let me see. 2.5 million registered direct at 155 a share. 2.5 million is nothing. This thing's been trading hundreds of millions of shares a day. So not super relevant share size wise. So that definitely could have trapped a bunch of people right there. So in my mind, I'm thinking a 360 break and hold above. That looks like a breakout setup to me, especially with all the longs who possibly hammered into this, along with the longs that are consistently underwater as they keep looking for the overextended setup. But I don't really have an interest in this short side. If anything, it would be a 360 break and build, and it'd be smaller size. I don't want to get caught in these yanks, but I don't really have a huge interest in this. It wouldn't be a huge size anyways, so it would just be singles mentality, but could be opportunity there. So let's look at some other names. Excuse me. I will change my screen and run through my scanners, and I think I can move this over for you. Something like that. Let me see. Make sure it comes across okay. Yeah, that looks good. So we will run through my list of names like I normally do every evening. I usually do this before I hop on, but I figured I'd do it live today. Thanks for explaining your process and the trades you made. Yeah, of course, no problem. That's what I enjoyed the most. What I enjoyed the most was watching live trading, like Tim Grattani's trading tickers and Nate's tandem trader. I enjoyed that kind of not really education, but entertainment stuff. I enjoyed that the most personally. But second best was looking at opportunities and basically being able to collect a highlight reel of what they saw as A+ setups. So that's, yeah, I don't mind at all. Okay, so we'll scroll through here and I'll just kind of note whatever's catching my radar, like something like Tiger. I see this little volume starting to build down here. The range only from 350 to 650, so not huge. I'd prefer that one to be higher, although it is Singapore. Could be kind of related to China, I guess. LX, that's like super gorgeous to me. Like, like sexy. Like real sexy. Like when you get the hungry eyes and like the finger guns from across the bar. That's what LX is right there. You get the Indo, we did have some oil and gas action today in like Indo, IMPP, TPET, all that kind of stuff. There was some, was it Iran or Israel headlines today. So notable there. Tour, if that pulled back for another day, I'd be interested in a backside bounce. Like if it could gap fill down towards the low ones tomorrow, I'd look for a mean reversion trade back to the upside. So at this point, like I'm just, Indo, Tour, Tiger, I'm just putting them on my list. And at the end of this, I'll have 15, 20 names, and then I will try and narrow them down. I just saw this. I was curious. MTC down 10% today. I just saw that little volume perk off the lows. I was curious what that one looked like. Another Hong Kong name. Too bad. I wish it went higher. What's your pickup line in the bar? Let me think. Let me chew on that one. I'll get back to you. Nothing really on that page. CNF starting to get up there. Volumes dismal. I've got all these scans sorted by volume. So as I go through the list, they get more and more illiquid. Holo, that thing get wrecked today? Not too bad. Expected that to be a lot worse, to be honest. See, LX keeps popping up on multiple scans. Husa, along with that oil and gas sector with Indo. Don't hate that daily. It looks pretty similar to Indo. I'll throw that on the list. Nothing really there. That was small caps. We'll go to strong gainers. Damn, that thing's wild. I can't believe that unwound like 90%. Crazy. That's where all these China names should be eventually. All these small caps. But it's just a matter of not battling it before then. Few 2. That one's a large cap. I had that one on watch yesterday. It just keeps going. You know what, actually? My best pickup line is you remind me of my pinky toe, and I want to bang you on every piece of furniture in the house. What do you think? What do you think? Like a 9.6 out of 10? Oh, man. You seen you seen that comedian? He he made pickup lines based on whatever state he was traveling to. You need to say it in your Trump voice, then 9.6. There was this comedian. He was traveling all over the states doing his touring stuff. And I see that working 60% of the time, every time, absolutely. And he was basically making like a play on words with different states. And my favorite one was, are you from Georgia? Because if George was a verb, I'd Georgia. If George was a verb, I'd Georgia. Boo. Yeah, I give it like a 5.7 if I'm being fair. What was that one there at the bottom? RNAS, you see like the volume kind of coming in. Yeah, too far off its highs. This is the fader scan, so it's stuff that's pulled back 10% or more, and that's also down like on the week, I believe. And then you can see like this stuff here starting to get into like the 1 to 2 mil vol, so it's almost, it's like untradeable down there, so move on. Recent runners off the highs, stuff that's run within the last week and pulled back. A lot of times I'll find breakout names, stuff that's consolidating near their highs, or stuff that's needs to mean revert back up. Like if this was cleaner action, you know, something that's push, pulled, and now looking for that little bounce. I don't really like add, it's ugly, but something kind of like that. Yeah, so let's go back to my DAS. And I'll put this back there. So I threw on, what do we have? TPEC kind of moved with Indo today. IMPP used to, but its volatility has completely dried up. ENSV, I remember that one. What else do we have? Yeah, it looks like mostly HUSA and Indo. I do like the IU scanners, because they have, I don't know if I can, I can't, if I can open it up from today. Percent change, EONR, oil name. History of 1-day moves, not a history of multi-day moves, but nice move there. I'll throw that one on a list. Just a steady grind throughout the day. Nice blowout there in after hours. PAVS. UAVS. My watch list was almost all red today. if you had China names on your watch list, that would make a lot of sense. CNF, to a liquid, nice percent gain, but untradeable. QSG up 30%, China name, also same kind of thing. NCI, same kind of thing. Yeah, so not a whole lot. NA, wow, that's holding up better than I expected. Look at that daily. China name. What does this one say? Semiconductors and China. Impressive how well that one's holding. This could be a sympathy to Duo. Like if I'm looking at stuff like LX for overextended first red days, but Duo continues to break out tomorrow, if this breaks and builds over $1, could see this being a sympathy. Just given that it's not moving with stuff like UXIN, Tour, that kind of stuff. Even Duo today that had that offering, this one didn't pull back. So it fairly illiquid, like only traded 1.5 million, but the range is tight enough that I don't think I'm going to get wicked just on spreads, but not really A+, just same kind of thing when I traded it this day, just put on a small piece and let it do its thing. So, let me check any other lists from some moderators. Just going to read this for a second and I will check back. Okay, that was another name today. LASE Capybara Research. There's a good history of short reports on names, stuff like Serve. On I think it was up there, and like decent action for swing trades. Kyle had told me that the overnight bar rate on these was like 700% annualized. So not ideal for a swing trade, but given Capybara's history, I think this does favor a swing lower. With stuff like Jivo, like on this day, and Lace as well on this day, where you get that first and second red day, and then Jivo, you get that first red day, and the second red day was a lot easier. Do I really think UXIN has room for that? Maybe. If 480 breaks, this thing's got a huge liquidity pocket. Sub 480 back down to $3. So if this thing can break and build below today's afternoon consolidation, like sub 50, 550, I think that could favor a second red day. Iran and Israel attacking each other again. That's what the oil and gas plays are moving on. ICCT. After hours move. Yeah, that's about it. So, in terms of a watch list for me, I think where I'd like to focus is probably LX with most of my size. I really like this, how it's setting up for tomorrow. Higher the better. Could use that 380 to 420 range as a guide. And if this thing goes red, I think there is definitely some room for an unwind. Let's go to my favorite stockcharts.com, where I like their RSI tool, and I think their candlestick charts are fairly clean. I don't like how RSI is shown on DAS. This thing's pinned at a 95 RSI. Let me throw my 4 EMA on there. And 4. There we go. 4 EMA right now is sitting around 270. So that's a buck a share lower than where it is right now. That's enough extension for me. That's how I kind of gauge extension, where I look for pullback ranges. And that would come into this consolidation range. So I do like that for tomorrow. UXIN I like below 550 for a possible second red day. Duo I'm going to keep on watch to see how it trades. I think I'm going to let it do its thing between 360 and above 240 and wait for it to break out of there. Tour below 130. I think this unwinds. So I think this could have a second red day as well. Most of this China small caps, they should fade back to where they came from. Gevo I'm going to keep just on a side chart. As Kyle says, a third eye. ALY will be kind of a swing short idea. Nothing I'd really trade huge out of my wheelhouse, but just something that I think could have possibility. I like the technicals on it. So I'd like to just kind of practice on something like that. Indo, Husa, or all oil and gas names, see how that sector reacts. Tiger, China name or Singapore name or whatever, but I think it's moving with the China basket. But I definitely need this higher. It does have a history of good pullback days, but I'd want that much higher to warrant it. And NA, kind of a side watch. Don't love it, but if it breaks and builds over 1 with the rest of the sector moving higher, could get some moves in it. Thanks for doing this. Got to check out early. Yeah, of course, no problem. I'm gonna check out and grab some dinner shortly, in a minute. Thank you for coming on though, Arnas. I appreciate it. So yeah, I think probably LX and UXIN, probably LX, UXIN, and Tour, probably my top 3 for tomorrow, and then the other ones all kind of secondary watches. But yeah. Anything else you guys want to touch on? Otherwise, I can close it out there. I hope it added some value to your guys' evening. I will be trading these setups live in the Investors Underground chat room tomorrow. Yeah. Anything else you guys want to touch on? Otherwise, we can close it out there. Up to you. Sounds good. You're welcome. Go explore. Alrighty. Well, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, get in where you fit in. Make some memories. And I'll see you guys in the room. Oh, one last thing from El Jefe. He squeezed it in before the bell. China being closed this week makes you more confident in continued selling. Yeah, I had mentioned that on my my live stream yesterday, if you go and check that. But because it was closed, I figured kind of that buy the rumor, sell the news type idea, where the whole reason for all of these China names in the US markets was they were moving on the sympathy of all of the stimulus moving into the markets in these China names. And now if there's no stimulus being pumped into the China markets themselves, with them being closed for the week, that gave me a bit more confidence today, especially being the first day that they were closed. So yes, I agree with that comment. Alrighty, get in where you fit in, make some memories, and I'll see you guys in the room. Thanks for stopping by.